Greetings, programs. Welcome to Stegosaurus Studios. I'm Mike, and I'll be your captain for this flight today. So we're calling this episode "Fun with Cardboard," and why? Because I had fun with cardboard, I guess. Yeah, we'll get into all that after the break. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Okay, so no, I am not making dummies speeder bike out of cardboard boxes and athletic shoes. So let me explain this madness that I have going on here. One of the things I've been struggling with in the CAD is getting a sense of scale. So now that the seat is together, see he's in his little seat there. For a couple weeks now, there's a whole bunch of more cardboard boxes over there. We've been saving all of our cardboard boxes from deliveries. And so what I've done is I've stacked them up in a way that sort of in box block form resembles what his speeder bike. The flaps are sticking out on that side, but so with this cardboard contraption now, I'm just going to take some general measurements, and now I'll have a sense of scale for this little dude, for his speeder bike, and that I hope will inform me a little better in the Fusion 360 as I'm going along doing the CAD work on the frame and everything. So that is the madness that's going on there. I have Dummy in his booster seat again, and I'm back on my cardboard kick. This time I have a piece of cardboard that is cut to play the role of the armrest, which I have not cut yet. So I wanted to check the fit, and that looks just about right. And his wrist would start right, I don't have it put on yet, but it would start right there. So having the armrest end at that point is good. On this end, I'm going to actually cut it longer than I show here. I can always trim it later. I need space for the motors that operate the wrist. They'll go behind the elbow back here. So I'll need to cut it a little extra long. But anyway, I'm digging the cardboard. Dummy, he's digging his seat. So, well, hello there. It is early in the morning, before it gets hot. It's supposed to be over 100 again. So I am out here in the early hours getting some work done. So Dummy's in the hot seat again, no pun intended. So what's going on here? So you'll see I have the plywood for the armrest installed on the seat, and what I need to do is do some markings as to where the shaft comes down, because there's going to be a hole in the top of the armrest for the shaft, and then the controls, the Bowden tubes to go down through. So need to mark this up and get them all kind of aligned. Haven't cut this off yet. So let's talk about, so what's going on? So let me talk about the plan. What's the plan? So I know I had talked in a previous video about whether I was going to leave this design the way it is or whether I was going to extend it down. I'm going to leave it kind of the way it is. I think I am going to extend this a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to design and 3D print the covering. So this will be plywood. The rest will be 3D printed. And what I'm going to do is I'll have a lip that will go over the top of the plywood, and then connect with magnets so that I can take the pieces off to get to everything in here. On the inside of the plywood, facing the seat, I'm going to put glue just a thin layer, just one layer of and not wrap it of the leather. So that'll be on the inside. And then on the top of the armrest, the 3D printed thing, I'll also glue and wrap some leather so that he has a nice leather armrest to put his arm on. So the leather part will be narrow. It'll just be wide enough for his little arm. And then there'll be more section that'll come out to cover up this. And I have some designs. I was actually sketching them up this morning as far as how to make that look like I'm not hiding stuff in there, but make it look, I'm going to put like a bunch of controls, buttons, switches, and things. So make it look like it's a control panel, but it will not actually do anything, not have any controls in it, just look like it. So that will cover up this. And then you may remember this bracket that I built for testing. So I have decided that the bigger of the motors, the R5, what Tiny Mover calls the R5, that will be the motor that'll be down here that'll drive the arm waving back and forth. The two motors that drive the wrist up and down will be the smaller variety. So there's another small one that goes in there. That's the up and down. And then these two of these motors will be back here with the Bowden tubes that'll make his wrist go up and down. So I need to redesign this piece, which is actually a good thing. It doesn't fit anymore. So I need to shrink it down. And then I need to also, there were a number of issues with this design. So first of all, you can probably see that I had to Dremel this because I didn't leave space for wires. So I need to correct that. I need to leave space for wires. The other thing that's really important to me is once I put this on, I want to be able to pull the motors out from this side. I don't want to have to pull the entire bracket off the plywood in order to get the motors in and out. You should be able to do everything. So you should be able to put the fishing line through, tension everything, take motors in and out, everything without ever having to take this bracket off. So I have some redesign work on the bracket to shrink it and then fix those things and then make it, like I said, so that everything is can be interfaced from the front side. Let's see. So I don't really know what happened here. I guess when I was doing the measuring for the board, I had his arm so that it was flush. If you remember, I had a piece of cardboard there. I know this board is the same size as the cardboard, but this shoulder joint was loose, so that's one thing that raised his arm up once I actually got it tightened. Anyway, so there's actually a bit of a gap, which actually, in retrospect, isn't a bad thing because I just talked about this 3D printed thing that'll have a lip that'll go over there with leather around it. So the amount of gap there probably will be taken up by what I designed. So I screwed up, but I made it the right way anyway, even despite the screw up. So so that's what I'm working on. I will say just quickly, I am I'm working on the speeder bike frame. So I know it seems kind of strange to build the seat without the frame. I probably should have done it in reverse. But I'm having lots of issues with the conceptual design of what I want it to do. I'm getting closer. I have the suspension system sketched out and the steering system sketched out, and I just need to what's killing me is that we want to bank the speeder in the turns, and that's the part that's taking the longest to figure all that out. So it is working, it is going forward, and but in order to keep some forward momentum, I'm working on the seat as well. So that's it. Stay cool if you're in a hot place like me, and talk to you later. So this here is a prototype drive system. So the drive wheel, the Coulson caster. It's driven by the Neo motor, and it's a chain drive, so you can see the chain that's in there. Prototype because these are made of plastic, and eventually once I am happy with this, I will send those off to the 2 pieces off to Send Cut Send. So if you're not familiar with Send Cut Send, they can actually do bends. So this piece here is just bent, and they Send Cut Send can do that. You just send them a step file. The step files have to be in the sheet metal format. So not just a solid body, but an actual sheet metal body, which is part of what you can do in Fusion. So, we'll be, like I said, sending that off and getting those parts made. I want to talk just a little bit. So I called this a prototype, and I'm actually very happy that I did that, because so the motor here, let's see if I have a, doesn't look like, oh, yes, I do. Hold on. Right here is another one of these Neo motors. So it has a raised little portion right here. These holes here, around the outside, those are for mounting. So it's made for a plate, to be mounted flush against a plate, but there has to be a hole for this raised lip thing that's right here. And so I did that. I put a hole there, and then instead of, so in this plate here, you can actually see it a little bit from the outside. There's slots, because you need to be able to put the chain on you slide the motor down this way, get the chain on, slide it back in order to tension it. And so when I designed this plate, the hole that's for this raised lip thing actually needs to be an oval, so that it's not just slots for the screws, it has to be a slot for the center part too. So I messed that up. I've changed it already in Fusion, but that's why I prototype, because it's a lot cheaper and easier to put it in plastic and discover all of the things you goofed up before getting it in aluminum, and then it's much harder to rectify once it's in aluminum. At my previous job, we used to call that the 1-10-100 rule. If you catch something in design, a problem in design, that costs $1. If you catch it in the next phase, it's $10, and if you catch it out in the field, that's $100 in order to fix it. So, and it's actually in the field that I was working in, it was more like 10,000, something like that, because it was very expensive to do anything out in the field. So anyway, this is together, and I'm gonna actually talk about this with Malcolm tomorrow, get his feedback on it, assuming that everything is good and I've got all the changes made. I'll get that out to Send Cut Send, and then once I get the plates back, I'll put it together, and then we'll actually wire up a motor with a SparkMax controller, and we'll do some testing of the motor. So that's exciting. Yeah, so that's it. All right, so that's the end of this video. So you saw we had some fun with cardboard, did a motor prototype, some work on dummy seat. I did meet with Malcolm, which I mentioned in there, and we had actually more fun with cardboard. This was so we had some very intense discussions about frame design, Malcolm and I, which will be coming up in a future episode. We also went over the changes, or this made some changes. I'm actually printing out another prototype, and we'll talk about that in a future episode as well. So, all right, take care. Thanks.